Welcome back, guys. So what I got here is a starter out of a Case 580C. So I went to use the backhoe today. It's been having some problems starting, just slow turning. Part of that's because the battery that's in it when I bought it, it's not really the battery that's supposed to be in it. It's a small car battery. But in the summer, it gets the job done. So I said, you know what, let's replace it. I went and got a Deep Cycle Marine 800 cold cranking amps, and I threw it in it. Now, the problem that didn't fix the problem, but I just wanted to get rid of that battery because I know it is a problem. So the problem I'm having today is that when I hit the button to start, it just clicks, okay? So haven't done this in a long time because, as most of you guys know, you throw starters away nowadays, right? You don't throw this starter away. This starter, just to rebuild it, they usually want like $300 or so, or more. This starter, brand new, I don't know, $1,000. No idea. So, but these kind of starters, we can actually rebuild them, depending upon what's wrong with them. So I did a little bit of testing while it was on the vehicle just to see what my problem is. So this is the where the battery cable is bolted to, and I'll tell you what these wires do, okay, or these screws or pins, whatever you want to call them. This is where the battery's bolted. Right here goes down to, back out a little bit. Goes down to this copper, we'll call it a wire, down to the motor that's inside here that spins, okay? Now, this post right here is the pulling winding from either a key switch, push button, whatever way you want to activate this. And it works the same way as the old cars do. It actually works the same way as many starters still work today. It's just you can't buy the parts. This is crimped together. You can't pull this apart. This is the starter relay or solenoid. It's a relay and a solenoid. This portion of it is the relay. This portion is the solenoid. So, and if you had a gasoline motor, whether it be in a car, tractor, whatever the case may be, this would go to your ignition points. And it would be called what they used to call a bypass circuit. So they don't use that anymore. And even on some of the starters, like the GM starters, still use this design, and they never use this terminal because we haven't used bypass circuits since the 70s. Okay. But for some reason they keep making them this way. I mean, it is what it is. So I guess they don't want to change any of the molds for the Bakelite or whatever the case may be. So when I hitch up the battery, if I put a multimeter here, I am getting 12 volts. Okay. If I hit the button in the cab, it sends voltage down here, which charges this big magnet, which pulls this forward and engages the drive gear. Okay, so that's working. It goes click, and that's it. Okay. And a lot of times when you hear that on a car, you're like, oh crap, car's not starting, and it still happens today. So you turn the key to the stop position, and that's it. Nothing else happens. What's not happening is the motor is not turning, the big motor. Well, where does that motor get its voltage to turn? We send the voltage down here, secondary source of voltage that powers up the coil, It's all grounded through the body. There's a copper disc in here that moves forward when we activate the solenoid. Copper disc moves forward and it attaches these two posts. That sends voltage down to the copper wire here that goes to the motor and it turns. So I put 12 volts directly from the battery here. The motor spins. I put 12 volts here, it pulls it in. But they do not work together. If I put 12 volts here and I push the solder drive forward, and then I put 12 volts right here to the motor terminal, I can get this thing to crank. So what's not working is the transfer from power from here to here, okay? And like I said, there's a big copper disc in here. I'm not sure what's exactly in this one, but being this looks just like every other solenoid off a starter, there should be a copper disc in here. And what actually happens over time is where the copper disc makes contact from these two bolts gets all burnt. It's like welds. Every time it touches it, it makes an arc and it welds and builds up weld material or transfer of metal on the back of this bolt, and it eats up the copper disc. So sometimes when you take this apart, what you can do is polish that disc, put it back in, everything's well and fine, you get another who knows how many years out of it. Or what we used to do is we could flip the disc, because the disc is just a smooth disc, okay? But again, I've never had this one apart, so I'm not sure. So what we're going to do is we are going to pull this apart, and we are going to see what's in here, and we're going to see if we can figure out what's wrong with it. And I got a pretty good idea that that's what's the matter with it, because back in the old days, when I used to work on starters and we actually rebuilt them, that's one of the things we did. If the solenoid was bad, we didn't throw the starter away. We rebuilt the solenoid. And you can buy the guts to it. You could buy the solenoid. You can buy all the components inside here. You could buy the Bendix unit. You could buy everything. And then we could put the armature on a growler, and we can do a test to make sure the armature was all good. There's brushes in here that we could actually change, and there's bearings in here we could lubricate or change. So you could rebuild this whole starter, and that's what they did. They still do these. I'm sure where you live there is an armature shop. We have 3 of them around, and they primarily do the big stuff. There is some older stuff they do. But nowadays when a starter goes in a car, they just usually replace it. And there are some things you can do if you can find the parts, but finding the parts is usually hard. Okay, because most if your solenoid goes bad, generally in the newer cars, that motor is taking a beating and everything too. And I'm not saying you can't fix it. You can a lot of times if you can find the parts, but most people want to be on their way. They don't want to wait, 3 or 4 days to get parts. Back in the old days, this stuff was all on the shelf. In fact, the building I moved into with my machine shop, it was a starter alternator shop. And up in the attic is where they had everything. They had racks. And they left behind hundreds of these solenoids. All the different parts, the parts kits, the solenoids themselves, they were everywhere up in the attic. Okay, so there was only so many of the different designs that there were, different size depending on the size of the alternator, and they were interchangeable. So how this goes on here, and I kind of forgot this, but you got a little key right here. So you put this on like this, and you turn it, and it locks in the back side. There's a little gasket here, and then you just put this little screw in here. And I wasn't going to take the starter out, and when I undid the bolts on it, I'm like, oh crap, I forgot how they came out. It was that long. So I pulled the starter out, and then I looked down, I'm like, oh crap, all I had to do was turn it. So I don't know as I'm going to open up this whole starter, because I don't want the brushes to fall apart, and I'm going to go down this rabbit hole. I need this tractor. So this was still spinning, so I'm going to fix that. If I can't fix that and I got to order parts, I'll order everything I need for the starter. I'll do the whole starter over. And I know the armature and the the rotor, everything is good inside here because it does turn. And if it was bad, if I had to shorten the armature, I would have a problem. Okay, and there's a couple of big magnets in here. You know, it's a motor. Okay, all right. So we're gonna slide this over. What the heck was that? We're gonna slide this over, and we're gonna pull this apart. And the only reason I'm putting this rag down is there's nothing liquid going to come out of here, but it gets rid of the shine. I put this on here because I got rid of that piece of rubber that I had on here that was giving me it was making me sick, the smell. It's been outside for 3 months and it still stinks. You know, it's like when you go to a tire shop, you smell that smell. You know, it kind of smells good when you walk in, but when you're around it for hours after hours, it makes your stomach sick. The other thing is I tested it for lead. Came from China. It's got lead in it. So I got enough problems with lead when I shoot, so I don't need any more. All right, let me go get some sockets. This is all standard. This is, well, I really don't know how old this is because somebody may have changed it, but it's in a 1980, which is the last year they made the C model. All right, let me go get some sockets and I'll be right back. All right, so one of the problems you would run into doing this even back in the day is this section right here is, I believe this is plastic because of the age, but they used to be Bakelite. But even the plastic ones, what would happen is when you try to pull these lugs apart to pull this off, there is a kind of like these are kind of like a carriage bolt. They got a little square part where it fit into the plastic so that you can tighten this up. Well, if these nuts get jammed on here, they'll spin and they will break the plastic, and then we need parts, okay, because you can't fix that. All right, so this was just the regular nut with the this one I know has to come off. This one has to come off. Like I said, it's been a long time, because what we have to do is we have to separate these. Maybe these and these don't come off, but this one has a winding on it. Okay, this is the primary winding for that magnet, so I know that one has to come off. So let's see how this comes out. Worst case scenario, it breaks and I got to order parts. Right now it doesn't work, so it really doesn't matter. But I'm trying to get it to work without busting anything. All right. You can see that square hole right there. Now we really don't have to mock this on how this comes apart. It's what we would call clocking it, because this always is at the top and this little key is down into the bottom. So I'm going to take this one off. I don't know why that feels like it's holding me back, but I'm going to take it off. really shouldn't be a problem. Like I said, this has been a long time since I pulled one of these apart. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. So if you look at this copper disc, that's pretty nasty. Okay? Pretty nasty. Okay? And then the back of this one is not too bad. I don't know if you can see that in there. It's not too bad. And then obviously it touches this too, but that would be your ignition. Now, you want an explanation of what that is? Okay. So, on early gasoline cars with carburetors, point-style ignition systems, what they would do on the primary circuit, the feed wire going into the positive side of the coil, is they would put a resistor wire, or the coil internally would be resisted, or a resistor wire. So when the car's running, it's not running on 12 volts. Not that anything runs on 12 volts, because when a car is running, or a tractor that runs on a 12-volt system, it's like 13.5. But they would reduce it down, okay? Might be running, say, 10 volts. When you start the car, this starter draws a lot, and it drops the voltage down. So the primary feed wire to the coil would lose voltage. It's already dropping it down, and it would drop it down even more. And there is a chance that it wouldn't even start, because you didn't have a hot enough spark, because you need to have the full voltage going to the coil that was designed for, so that the spark will be hot enough to start. So that would be your bypass circuit. It would bypass the resistor, and this would give your points full voltage when the engine is rotating. And when I say full voltage, you would probably be down around 11.5 volts, okay, rather than being down around 6-7 volts, okay. So that's why they called it a bypass circuit. All right, so what we're going to do with this, it's made so it'll spin, and that's why it's burnt all the way around, okay. I was hoping I was going to be able to chuck that up on the lathe, but not going to be able to do it. I don't know how this comes apart. It might be just the spring holding this on, but it doesn't look copper on the other side. But what I was saying before is we just flip this over, okay, and we'd have a fresh new side. It may be, just might be all oxidized, because it looks kind of green. So it just might be oxidized. I'll take a little Scotch-Brite just to touch it. Actually, I got a piece right here. No, that doesn't look like copper on the back side. I'll see if it conducts all the way through. I don't see why it would be a problem. We'll take a look at that. I wanted to put it in the lathe. I thought they were on tighter than that, but again, I don't remember. I was going to put it on the lathe and just polish it up. All right, let's pull this off. I got to get my glasses. Be right back. I think it's, actually I might be able to see in here. I think it's just a C-clip that holds it in place. It's not a C-clip, it's just, see, it sits right in that, it's kind of like a C-clip. It sits in that groove. Well, be honest with you, I don't want to break this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some sandpaper and polish it up. I'm just going to touch it, okay? All right, let me get a piece of paper and... All right, so if you look at this, I get this in focus. It's got a burnt groove right on it, okay? So it looks like this had some plating on it, but I'm not sure, because you can see the copper underneath it, but there is a insulating disc right here. I guess as long as I don't rub it away with where this metal piece is, because you wouldn't want it to find ground through this somehow, although I'm not sure how it would, but who knows. I'm going to flip this screw over, okay? And I'm going to pray I don't break this. Oh, nice and easy. Oh yeah, great. Alright, so it's got the square blocking the back side. So we're just going to flip it over. I'm going to clean it up really good first, and I'm going to flip it over. Alright, so we clean that up really good. We'll flip it over to the back side. Okay, so now it's up at the top. I'm going to just clean this brass nut up, both sides of it, just so that when it touches the cable, what we'll do is we'll bench test this. Alright, that looks good. And I just took this disc and I placed it on this just so I could polish it up. It's pitted pretty good, but alright, we'll see how that works. Clean it up with a little bit of alcohol. That should work fine. Alright, those shouldn't be a problem. I'll put this right here. Let's take a peek at this one. Can't really see. That one's burnt up pretty good too. But I don't see how I can turn that one around. I do not want to break that off of there. Let me get a little pocket screwdriver and see if I can separate this wire. Alright, So it's got the same square on the back side. So we'll clean this up on the Scotch-Brite. And we're gonna put this side up. Alright, so when it goes here, we're going to want that to go there. Let me get a little pill. Here we go. Alright. We gotta kind of bend that little piece in. That keeps it from falling apart. Alright. Alright. This one we don't have to worry about. All that is a pull-in winding. So we look good. All right. Let's put our little spring back on here. I don't want to forget that. Otherwise it may get stuck. It's this way. Alright, want to make sure we didn't forget anything. Everything looks good. Never tighten one down without them both coming down touching first. These things don't have to be 600 foot-pounds. All right. What this is where that copper flat wire is going on, so we want that to touch good. I don't want to go on there. That's weird. A couple of bugs in it. let's, I don't remember if these were two brass ones on here, because this doesn't have to be brass. This might be the one that was on here. Yeah, that's what it was. It was a little bit. And you can see where this one was worn into the Alrighty, and then this, add this on here, this one, I'm just, where'd that go? I'm just taking the rust off the flat pots when the wire hits it. And you can see, if I can find it, that washer wasn't doing too much. We'll put a little bit of a tweak in that baby. Come over here to the vise, take the and all we did was take it and give it a little bit more tension. All right. Let's put this back on. I'm going to clean this up right now. Yeah, that looks good. Now there's a little rubber grommet that's starting to fall apart. What we're going to do is clean that up with some alcohol on a rag. We're not going to dump it on it. And then we're going to put RTV all over the top of it. Alright, these two screws have to come out. Now this is all under a hood, so no rain should even get to it, but there is a gasket in here. And what we do is we put this in here. Take this out of here. This has to rotate. Alright. And you can tell somebody's been in here because it's got two different types of screws in it. And being a 1980, I'm sure somebody's been in here a few times. This one's missing its washer, so let's go over here. If we got a washer. A split washer. Alright, let me go get two screwdrivers to tighten. What I did forget to do was put this spring in here. I took this off before I brought it home. So this goes in here, slides on here, up against that little plate. I put it all back together before I actually did the testing, but I didn't want to show you me pull it in a pot again, so I did put it in. Back it off a little bit. Can't find my big screwdriver. I know, I have it upstairs. That's all right. I'm gonna go out to the garage. That's tight. All right. All right, so we're going to bench test this, and I am going to take some sandpaper and clean this up right here before I put it in, because this grounds off the chassis or body of this. Okay. There's actually a ground strap that goes on the bottom, but even if you put it on the block, it would still do the same thing. All right, let me go get my jump pack. And we are going to bench test it right here. Oh, I forgot to put this on. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to put power here, ground here, and then we're going to use a jumper wire, and we're going to jump from here to pull in to make sure this engages and spins. I'm just going to snug this up so then I put the jump pack on there. I don't want it to arc on the threads. This makes it a pain in the ass when you put it in. All right, I'm gonna go get my jump pack and be right back. All right, this is a really good jump pack if you guys are looking for one. Around Christmas time, they have some really good deals online, right from the company. And I don't know if they still do it, but what they used to do is, let's say you left this in front of the machine, this jump pack, and you ran over it and broke it. You send it back. I don't know what it costs to send it back. 80 bucks, they rebuild it, send you back another one. Not that you're going to run over it, but I have seen them fall out of the back of a truck before. I've seen them on the side of the road. Somebody put it on the tailgate, forgot it. So we're going to set this up just like it would be set up in a vehicle. So you're going to have a ground, right? You're going to have battery power. Okay. And not until you engage this voila. Just saved myself $300. Now, I would hope that if you brought this to a place and they rebuilt it for 300, 400, 500, whatever the price is. I don't know what it would be where you live. I believe it was around 350 bucks here. Make sure you insulate this from the metal plate. I would hope they do everything. Put new bearings in, new brushes, everything. I don't know if they do that. I don't know. But that's what I would hope they would do, rather than do what I just did. Clean it up, paint it, and send it to you. Because what I just did was not worth $350. $400, whatever the case may be. But it is worth $300 to me now, because I would have saved that money. Assuming that the armature and everything is going to hold up. Who knows? In 2 months, this could be bad. I don't know. But right now, this is going to go back in the tractor, and this sucker is going to start. Okay? The only thing that could hinder this is if this winding wasn't strong enough, it engages and it can't turn the engine over. Because there's too much internal resistance in here, shorted winding, whatever the case may be. But this thing was starting just slow. And then, boom, it had no power going down to here. So that had to be it. Okay? I hope I helped you out, guys. This is a really easy job to do. It's not that hard. You just have to be careful so that you do not break this plastic piece right here. Because once you do this, you're all in now. You might as well buy all the pots. I'd put a new Bendix in. I'd put everything brand new in if I had to order a pots kit. And that means this is coming apart. But we didn't break anything. We did okay. We're just going to clean this up now with a little bit of alcohol. And we're going to coat this with some RTV just to make sure no oil. Make sure no water gets in it. And like I said, it's under a hood, so really it can't rain on it. But just in case, because if water gets in there, number one, it's going to corrode. But in the winter, if we get water in here, it could freeze, split this case, or it could just short it out. And, you know, this thing will be junk. Thanks for watching, guys. I got probably 30 videos that are all been done that I just have not had time to edit, and I don't edit them a lot, but I do a little bit of editing, and I just haven't had time to post them. Okay, I'm probably going to put this one up right away. There's stuff I got on the computer that's a year old. I just haven't had time to do it. All right, doing a lot of work on that other property, and a lot of overtime at work. Pretty busy right now. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Hit the like button, share it, comment on it. It helps it grow. I thank you guys that are watching. We're up over 750, I believe, which is huge for me. I think that's awesome. I never figured anybody was going to watch any of my stuff. I figured maybe I have 35, 40, 50, maybe 100 subscribers. So I'm pretty happy. But I thank you guys all ears for watching. See you in the next video.